Alright guys, so basically what's going on here is the classic Army X9 gearbox originally uses one of those big micro switch controller setups in here. Pretty much takes up this entire portion. So this is a jag trigger switch right here. So they pretty much sit in here, but obviously that's not going to happen with how this gearbox shell is. I also don't have any QSC spring guides. I'm trying to save money on these builds, so I'm not going to be buying another one. I do like this gearbox shell though. The wire routing right here is pretty nice. QSC is also pretty nice as well. But you can see this has been bored out a little bit. I'm not sure how gears will do in that, or how the trigger switch that was made for this would do. But it's been bored out a little by the previous owner. I don't have the electronics, and I'm not going to be buying that, because that probably wouldn't be cheap at all. So what I've done here is I've got an old G&G gearbox shell. Obviously, a standard shell like this is not going to fit in this body. It's not even going to come close. So what I've done is I've removed from about right here down to here and then down to here. So all of that material has been removed. I can show you really quickly. I just want to show you what it looks like in the body. So your rear body pin here lines up nicely, nice and aligned on that one. This middle pin here fits as well, and then the selector plate, or the selector switch, looks like it would line up pretty nicely as well. So before it was about, I don't know, probably an inch forward, so I removed that material, brought it all the way back, and I'll show you what the gearbox shell looks like. It's obviously taken a bit of modifying to get it to fit. So there it is right there. Remove the back of that. That's obviously going to get cleaned up before we build it, but had to remove a little bit here, and then the back half of the gearbox shell. So as you can see with another G&G shell, we've removed quite a bit of material off the back. Now all the force in the gearbox shell, if you're going to break the shell, it's going to be up here. That's why it comes radius up there. So I'm not worried about force back here. It's really not going to affect anything. Spring guide should still hold in there just fine. So that's what we had to do to get that gearbox shell to fit in there. Alright guys, just finished cleaning up the back half of the gearbox here. It's not sharp at all or anything like that. It's all cleaned up. And then it's finished polishing the piston guide rails and the tappet plate guide rails. All polished up. Insanely smooth now. You can see the shine on it. It's using some really gritty sandpaper and then some really fine sandpaper. I don't even polish them anymore. And you can really just sand it, and then it's super smooth, no burrs in it, anything like that. Alright guys, this is a Jag programmable FET. Takes up the trigger contacts right here, kind of like a Titan. I'm not entirely sure of what settings you can do on this, but I'm told you can program it. So just going to see if it works. It's got a very small micro switch on it. It's the same type that is on the back of a Polar Star board for your fire selector. And then there's another switch over here that I'm told your cutoff lever will hit as part of your cutoff feature. So we're going to clean this MOSFET up, rewire it with some brand new wires, and since it works, we're going to be throwing it into the X9 because I don't really have any other FETs for it. I already used my Gate Nano on the G&G 416, so we'll use this on the X9. So, this is the negative motor wire. This is going to be the negative battery wire. This is your signal wire, which gets tied into the positive line. And then positive line goes straight from the battery to the motor. And then at some point in your wire harness, you bring signal wire up, connect it to the red wire, and you're good to go. So there's that, a lot cleaner than the old wires. Didn't melt the board too bad. So, should be good, and it is a Jefftron control unit. Alright guys, some modifications to the lower receiver to get the gearbox to fit. So, to the low right here, in the buffer tube, I had to take away a little bit of material so that the wiring harness for the MOSFET wasn't getting pinched. This is from before on the heat shrink, with that little bit of pinching on there. And then Just removed a little bit of material, that way you can sneak through there pretty easily. Otherwise, to the lower, there weren't any modifications. It was all to the gearbox shell. So just remove the back half here in order to get this section of the gearbox to fit into the lower. And then this is fine. I put a couple hundred rounds here. There's no stress here. All the stress is towards the front here, so this can be open. Doesn't really affect anything. So that's how I got that to fit. Alright guys, inside the gearbox shell, got a ball bearing spring guide, which has a crack towards the rear. This is from the boneyard bin. But this is not high stress at all. It's going to be fine. It's under 300 FPS. It's a random weight spring. It's pretty tough, but it's also extremely short compared to a normal AEG spring. Got a new matrix slash SHS piston with 3 teeth taken off to match the gear set. This is the lightweight one. Got Aries piston head with the new O-ring, and then did the AOE correction on the piston with some washers. That weights the piston a little bit, helps with the joules. G&G cylinder ported, G&G cylinder head. Got a G&G air nozzle, it's all standard right there. And then I was trying this tappet plate, pretty sure it's a V3. I just liked how far it went out there for the tappet timing. So we're going to put a V2 in and see how it does real quick. Then for the gears, got a G&G gear set, short stroke 2 teeth on the pickup side, and then 1 tooth on the release side, G&G spur, G&G bevel, and then we got a new cutoff lever in there, rather than just grabbing an old one. You got the Jefftron Processor Unit V2, did all the wiring for it, because the old wiring was pretty messed up. So signal wire off the back, and 2 motor wires coming in the front, and power wires. And then another look at the gearbox shell, polished tappet rails, piston rails on both sides, and then cut the back half off so it would fit in the lower. Alright, there we go, that worked. Alright. So I had a little bit of trouble with the mag there. This is the only mag we have, and it is from when the ARP9s first came out, and it's pretty beat up. So, got it to feed there, 20 RPS, stock gear set, short stroke 3 teeth, right around 280 to 290. It's a pretty short barrel, short stroked gun, so that's not bad at all for FPS or RPS.